The one thing that I can say, if you go one layer deeper and you say, why would a company like Johnson & Johnson trust you? One of the most trusted brands in the world trust Limitless Minds. And I think it's because they trust the people, whether it's the person that first talks to them, whether it's you when you go on stage, whether it's, Kat and the team as they talk through, and Anna, as they talk through all the logistics around the program, to the pull through and the people that are all associated with that. It's like their experiences, we trust them. And so I think that's one thing that I think we've done really, really well. The fact that we've been able to partner with some of the best companies in the world. I mean, you talk about Johnson & Johnson, Novartis. We've worked with, Amazon, Microsoft. I mean, these are some of the best companies in the world. It's like one of those like kind of pinch yourself moments where you're like, man, we built an amazing brand, and we've done that collectively with an unbelievable team.
Welcome to Limitless Minds, the podcast where curiosity meets greatness. Each week, co-host DJ Eidson and Harry Wilson sit down with some of the most exceptional individuals across sports, business, and beyond. From world-class athletes and peak performance coaches to visionary CEOs, entrepreneurs, and influential authors, they dive deep into the stories and strategies that drive extraordinary success. If you're ready to discover what it takes to be truly limitless and push beyond your own limits, you're in the right place.
Welcome back to the Success Leaves Clues / Limitless Minds podcast. You thought you were done with Travis and I, but ... you may have been wrong. The reason is because what we're going to do a special 2-part interview. I'm going to get to interview one of the partners, and then Travis is going to interview the other partner, and they'll be coming out over the next couple of weeks. But you're saying, which partners? What are you talking about? What partners are you talking about? This is a special podcast. We are bringing back. We didn't want to just throw the baton back to DJ and Harry. We wanted to go stick and hand the baton. Stick, hand the baton back. So the way that we're going to do that is we're going to interview DJ and Harry. I get the privilege and honor of not having to interview Harry. Just kidding, Harry Wilson. I get to interview DJ Eidson. Most people pronounce his name incorrectly as Edison. That is incorrect.
So
it's
true.
Eidson.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I'd have you as my son.
That's how you
think about it, right?
That's good, man.
Right? By the way, when DJ and I call each other on the phone, I am oftentimes like, hey, it's DJ from around the way. And then DJ says, what?
Josh Lifrak from way back.
Josh Lifrak from way back. So
that's it.
Obviously, there's a little bit of a collegial atmosphere here today. But just a quick note for everybody who is listening. DJ, as well as being one of the 4 founders of Limitless Minds and the president, and also leading very, very clearly in the lead of the airplane selfie contest that he and Harry are in on LinkedIn, which you can go check out. Just check that out. Go on there.
Yeah,
and you'll see why. Like DJ will sometimes be up against a window, taking a picture of himself, looking out the window longingly, thinking about things.
Out the window.
Always dressed to the nines. Remember, like back in the 50s and the 60s, people would get on airplanes in suit and ties and stuff, and they'd have like a 5-course meal. That's what DJ looks like. He looks like he's got that 5-course meal suit on every time he flies. I'm typically, if I took a selfie in a t-shirt, flip-flops, Sophie, one of our great colleagues here at Limitless Minds, always gives me the stank face when I put my flip-flops on to fly on a plane. I don't know if that is that. I mean, DJ, is it not etiquette? Is that bad etiquette?
Time out real quick, because I don't know if I've seen this. You fly in flip-flops? Is that what you just? Is that what I just heard?
Dude, is that bad? I don't know if that's bad or not.
Well, what my teenage daughters would say is, put your dogs away. That's what they would tell me. If I had flip-flops on, they would be completely disgusted, and they would immediately tell me to put my dogs away. So that's probably what Sophie's thinking.
This is going up on YouTube, so if you want to comment on flip-flops or no flip. I live in Florida. I live in flip-flops consistent. I have them on right now, just so y'all know.
There you go. Well, yeah.
But DJ, in addition to being one of our great founders, spent 18 years in pharmaceutical industry, where he won multiple awards. Best dressed was certainly one of those awards. led at local, regional, and of course the national level. And then 8 years ago, came up with this bright idea to start this incredible company called Limitless Minds, where we're going to impact a billion billion people. We're well on our way to doing that. Limitless Minds has really, not to kind of like bang our own drum here, but really we have become pretty sought after in the B2B world, where people want to bring us in a lot. And he's the father, more importantly, he's the father of not one, not two, not three, not four, but 5 absolutely stunningly amazing kids who I've had the pleasure of meeting.
Thanks,
and a woman who really keeps that whole family locked down. Jessica.
Just 20 years, man. 20
years.
It'll be 21 next week.
Success Leaves Clues.
Yeah, so thank you.
Success Leaves Clues.
Thanks for that, man. That's
great.
Probably I appreciate you ending with that, because that's my biggest accomplishment is the family. So
I know it's interesting. It's funny because I always think about that. Like every once in a while I'll meet, I met a gentleman yesterday, and he's a performance coach as well, mental performance coach. I won't tell you his name or anything like that, but like I met him on a Zoom. And so I went on LinkedIn, and one of his career, how you have like your experience.
Yeah.
And one of his career was father.
Yeah.
And he just had all his kids listed under the like it was, instead of like Limitless Minds or New York Mets or whatever, it was just Horizon. It was father. Yeah. And I love that. That's that. Right. So I was like, immediately, I love this guy.
Yeah.
So,
good stuff.
That family matters. Family matters. But
it does.
And we may talk about family. We don't know where this is going to go, because
you just don't know with us too. I mean, like think about the conversations, bro, that we've had recently, poolside, right? Like, and anything goes, man. It can happen. Like you just don't know.
We just don't know where it's going to go. But we're gonna be open to the possibilities. One of the Limitless Minds cores is, be open to the possibilities. I just made that up, by the way. Just threw that in there. You like that, DJ? That's good stuff.
Good stuff, man.
But what Travis and I have been doing in the Success Leaves Clues podcast is we have been doing something called the Nooch Nuggets.
Ooh.
Where we share one thing that's happened in the last week that was an example either from a client or from ourselves that would be an example of getting to neutral and having neutral help us succeed in whatever we were doing.
Right.
So I think one of the other things that Travis and I love is a good transition.
Okay.
So as we just talked about family,
right?
I think you have a nooch nugget about the fam this morning. Yes or no? Am I wrong on this?
Yeah. I don't know if it's a great example in terms of like how I necessarily handled it. But you're right, man. I mean, these things come up all the time as, leading a team, leading a household. I have 4 teenage daughters and then 2 sons, 7 and 12. And it's constantly trying to figure out how to get to neutral. And, we just started the school year, and the first couple days have been great, right? You got, new outfits, new teachers, new friends, all the things. Today was not great. What's that? You gotta have a great fit. I mean, and that's right, man. And the smell, this is the smell of of new clothes, right? New shoes, whatever it is, right? It's fantastic. That's all great. The weather's perfect here right now in Cleveland, Ohio. We've had a really a great probably 3 or 4 days, and then today happened, and just got up this morning, and my daughter, my teenage daughter, since I have 3 of them, we'll let you guess which one, right? Like it just, I'm not gonna throw any of them underneath the bus, but the reality of it was we just really weren't seeing things the same way. We were both trying to tell Jess a story around something that had happened the day before, and the way she told the story and the way I told the story were totally different, and it's and it caused an escalation. It went from talking to talking louder to maybe we could consider it shouting, which is not very neutral, right?
No,
but both of us trying to get our point across. Neither one of us listening, right? Neither one of us listening, which was poor example. And in that moment, I realized I'm not really modeling. I got in my feelings a little bit too. I'll back up. The one thing I'll say about me getting in my feelings is that it was not even about the situation. My love language is like feeling appreciated. And at what we were the situation that we were discussing or arguing, made me feel unappreciated. And
Mm,
so therefore my, my angst went up, my volume went up, the temperature of the situation went up. And so, feeling underappreciated, I wanted to make sure I got my point across. She wanted to make sure she got her point across, and nobody got their point across. And so she left, went to school, and I sat in my chair, took a little bit of time for myself, prayed, and realized, I needed to reset and get back to neutral, because I have an entire day where I'm going to be on a podcast. I'm going to interact with my teammates. I'm going to talk to customers, and I need to show up in a way that was not reflected, not how I showed up this morning. And
yeah.
so the ability to get back to neutral and also be thankful for, I didn't even think about how great the first handful of days had been. I never fully appreciated that until I had a day go sideways.
Can't have ugly without pretty, buddy. Or you
It's
can't have
so
pretty
true.
without ugly. Can't
There
have
you go.
pretty
Yeah,
without
that's
ugly.
it.
There you go.
There you go. But it's so true. And it's just like, I really had to reflect and figure out what's the next right step that I take? How do I get involved in some things that in my day to day that do help me get back to neutral and get on the right path? And the more active I was in the morning, the less I kind of started to think about and let those negative feelings snowball.
Yeah.
Because there was a moment in the morning where I'm like, dude, if I feel like this all day, like this day's done. Like because I can't, I can't function like this. I'm thinking I'm having a lot of negative thoughts here. And so this is so that kind of a raw example that just happened this morning, Josh. And yeah, I'm glad you brought up the family situation, because that's real fresh right now.
Yeah, I gotcha. And then I'm assuming you've already texted your daughter and told her how much you love her.
No. Nope, not yet. No, no, I have not. But what's interesting is
That's so funny.
right.
That's so good.
I am going to get to spend some time with her this afternoon. And yeah, so we will talk, and I'm going to own my stuff, my
Yeah,
side of it.
I think that's it, right? And that talk about getting to neutral. There it is, right? It's like throwing out the ego, and it's just like, hey, I'm going to own my stuff,
That's it.
and probably without, I would think, knowing you so well, without expectation. Look,
That's
I'm
right.
just going to own myself. I call it cleaning stuff up, like,
Yep.
because we're going to get emotional, we're going to get frustrated, we're going to get pissed off. That's going to happen.
That's right.
It's called being a human freaking being,
Yeah.
and but it's not about whether you make a mess; it's how quickly you clean it up.
Yeah.
And so, unfortunately, my 14-year-old who leaves his socks everywhere does not understand that
Yeah,
concept. But
there you go. Well, and giving it some room to breathe too.
yeah,
I have thought to your point several times. Yeah, I mean, I need to reach out, right? But I also realize that I am going to get about a 20-minute car ride today
yeah,
with this daughter, where and we have a lot of intentional time that we get to spend together, where you can talk some of these things through, and really come out, better on the other side of it. But when you're in it, it's, and this is what I hope the listeners take away here. When you're in it, it's tough. Whether you started a business around mindset, whether this is your first kind of, journey into mindset, whether you're kind of somewhere in the middle, it's very difficult, and you have to exercise these things over and over, or that muscle will atrophy.
yeah,
And that's I think that was very clear this morning for me.
yeah. I mean, you just made a huge point there, just about doing the work. One of the things we constantly reference when we're talking to companies or people that we're coaching is, when you do the work starts working on you.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
so but it's about that first part. It's like literally about doing the work. And I think I get that all the time. Like, hey, you're such a positive person. You're this or that. I work at it.
Yeah,
Right. And
that's right.
also too, like the motivation piece. So, my nooch nugget comes, this kind of leads into my nooch nugget, which was, today I have to do some creative work. And creative work for me, I love doing it, but for me, the environment really matters
Okay.
when I'm doing thoughtful creative work, right? Like I have to be very intentional about it. I have to lock in. I have to have quiet. Quiet, by the way, can be in a cafe with headphones on.
Yep.
But it's like I have to kind of create my own like internal space.
Yeah, like bubble.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I've had this kind of creative project I'm working on, and I really need to get this one section done. The other thing about me with creativity is I'm way better in the mornings.
Okay.
Like if I'm up at like 6 a.m. and I can jump in front of the computer, I get a lot done in the mornings. Like early. You're an early morning guy too.
Yep.
I know you are.
That's right.
So by the way, if you're ever on the road with DJ and I, and it's past 10 p.m. and you've seen us, it's almost like seeing a unicorn in the wild. It's just not going to happen. Just not, like 10 p.m.
That's right. That's right.
You guys, later, David. Later, Gorsuch. Have fun till 2 a.m. We're going to bed. Deuces. Later, Colin Henderson.
So true, man.
But anyway, yeah. So anyway, so I had to do this creative work, and I knew it, and it's kind of, and this morning I kind of had set aside a little bit of time to do it. I had a meeting, an in-person meeting today that I need to be at like 10:30. So I was like, okay, good. I can get up, get the run in, and then, I have this plan, and I'm just I have a call at like 9:30, so I can get a lot done from like 7 to 9:30. Great.
Yeah.
Well, my wife texts me at probably about 7:30. I had not finished eating breakfast yet, but we got the text from my wife at 7:30. Hey, we have this Zoom call with relatives in Israel that we need to be on at 8 a.m. Da, 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 da. And it was like something that you couldn't miss.
Yeah, you can't miss.
Like,
you can't miss it. Right. You got to.
And so now I'm like spiraling. I'm like, I'm never going to get this done. Da, 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 da. End up going to the meeting, having a good meeting. And then I'm back in the house, and it's probably about 11:30. Mm-hmm. I know we're jumping on here to record this in about an hour and a half. And I'm just like, I'm like scrolling the Instagram. I'm kind of just like, I don't have it right now. I missed my window. I'm like telling myself this story.
Yeah.
But I don't have time to do the creative work. And then I went downstairs. I made myself an espresso. I said, forget it. I'm making myself an espresso. I got to get this done. And I said, what's it going to take? In my brain, I was like, what's it going to take to get this done right now?
Okay.
I was like, crush the espresso, get back up to your office, put headphones on, get your music, your playlist on, and just get crack-a-lacking.
Good.
And sure enough, right, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with just one step. Lao
One
Tzu
step.
entering the podcast.
Lao
Tzu coming in hot. And so that's what I did. And I just put my head down and I cranked for about 45 minutes to an hour. And I got done what I needed to get done.
That's cool.
But it was literally that moment of like, I blew my opportunity, right? That was the negative.
Yeah.
I don't have time. That's the story.
Yeah, it's all kinds
and then it was like, how do I I got to get this done. What are the next right steps?
Yep.
Exactly what you're talking about. And the next right steps for me, knowing myself, put the headphones on, put the playlist on.
Yep.
Actually, I'm going to call it out. I put Pandora on. Pandora, you can sponsor us.
Yeah, you know what though? Don't listen. Pandora for the listeners. I do too. But if you say Pandora to my teenagers, they're like,
they're like, what's that?
Not on Spotify. Like,
what's that?
Because
you know why we're on? Here's why I'm on Pandora.
Why are we on Pandora?
Because you just click a button and it plays you a bunch of stuff that you kind of like that you've never heard of.
I
love it.
That's what I love.
And apparently you can do that on Spotify too, but I've never been able to figure it out on Spotify.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, I know like we sound like old heads when we say Pandora. We are. That's true. Good point.
We are.
Good point. Why not be an old head?
So anyway, so that's my nooch nugget. That's my nooch nugget. It was kind of like, it was a little bit of talking to yourself instead of listening to yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
And then it was figuring out what the next right steps were.
So you're telling me that one of the best mindset coaches in the world still has to exercise and utilize these principles on a day-to-day basis. When you find a really good mindset coach, you can ask them that question. I don't. Yes. Yes, right.
absolutely.
That's right.
You do have to exercise and you do have to do that stuff.
Okay.
Stuff. But listen, this podcast isn't about nooch nuggets. We like the nooch nuggets. It gets us started.
Yeah.
But what it really is about you today, DJ Eidson.
Dang.
It's about you.
Appreciate that. I
Come on.
appreciate that. Yes.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna peel back the mind of a founder,
Okay.
of somebody who was in the corporate space and said, I'm gonna go over to this cliff over here.
Uh-huh.
I may or may not have a parachute on, and we'll just see if it opens. Yeah! It just jumped off,
Yeah.
and you just went
Like
for
me.
it.
That's
So
right.
I kind of want to know about this journey, right? You've been with you created Limitless Minds 8 years ago.
Yep.
And I'm kind of curious, like, what was the spark for you? First of all, thank you for creating it, because I love the work we do
Awesome.
together.
Appreciate
And I
it.
love being able to get out there and do the stuff that you and I do. And I love traveling with you and just impacting. It's so fun. But what was kind of that spark that started this inferno? What was it for
Yeah.
you?
Well, I think the spark came like decades before. When I was a kid, I loved business already, and I found that love through Monopoly. Used to love
Oh yeah.
playing Monopoly. Like would play it like all summer long with Christian Seltzer and friends in the neighborhood. And that was one of my early memories of around business. And my sister was the one, my younger sister Desi was the one that always would like try to just have as much money as possible. And I was always the one that was like broke, but had all the properties at the beginning. And then as the game went on, I would go from not having money to like having all the money. Right. And so I learned very quickly that investing in businesses was typically much more fruitful than just carrying around money in your pocket.
Yeah.
And so, and
Was
so my
there
first,
was there a favorite property? I have to interject. Was there a favorite property that you were just like, yo, I gotta get St. James Place?
yeah, I liked the orange properties like New York and yeah, like I really liked because those were like
Tennessee.
they're what's
Tennessee.
that Tennessee. They
I
weren't
don't
they
remember.
weren't too they weren't too expensive, but they got pretty good rents, especially if you got a hotel on them.
Yeah.
So and then again, like I think what's it, Pennsylvania, the green ones too. Where if I was gonna once I got the orange ones and properties around there, then I would go to the green ones even before Boardwalk because everybody's trying to get Boardwalk and Park Place. So
Yeah, man.
I would spend time on the green properties a lot. So anyways, yeah, I think it was Pacific, Pennsylvania. Gosh, it's been a while. And maybe North
Carolina?
Carolina. Yeah,
No,
I think it was
maybe.
North
I don't know.
Carolina, maybe. I don't
I
know.
don't know.
Yeah, we have to somebody can fact check us.
Yeah,
But
we can.
yeah, so those are my favorite. But hey, listen, I would buy a Baltic, I'd buy the cheap ones. I'd buy a Mediterranean, you know. Just, if whatever I could purchase, I wanted land because I knew I could get residual dollars over time. And so yeah, so that was a lot of fun playing that in the summer with friends. But my first business was actually I was probably about Amari's age. Amari's 7, and I went outside one day because my mom, I must have asked her for like I want ice cream from the ice cream truck or whatever it was, and she's like, well, you need a job, you're the typical thing a parent says, go get a job. So I walked out of the house and I went door to door and asked people for money, and like everybody gave me money, like different
So
denominations,
you
a
weren't
dollar
selling
here.
anything. You were just selling time with
I, I
DJ.
had I had nothing. They just were giving. I just asked for money, and so I come home, and my mom is like, I had all this money. She goes, where did you get that? I go, well, you told me to go get a job. And so I just went door to door. She's like, you can't do that. You can't go to people and just ask them for money without giving them something. So I drew a bunch of pictures and then went back and handed it to each door.
Nice.
And
Nice.
so that was my first kind of, but what's funny is this past weekend, Amari was
DJ the
at,
artist.
yeah, right, DJ the artist, right.
There you
And
go.
this past weekend, Amari was at the football game here in Cleveland, our local high school. And I guess like Jess and I went out to dinner and we come home and Amari's counting all of this money on the kitchen like island. We're like, where did you get all this money from?
No,
He goes,
no.
he walked up to high school kids and middle school kids and asked them for money, and he came home with like $20, man, in all different denominations. I'm like, he got that honest, man.
There you go. He got tip off
very
the old
honest.
block right there. You're like, yes, high fiving him.
So like I had this passion for, that was my first business. I went into middle school. I started a candy business. I would buy Jolly Ranchers and, sell them for, 5 cents for a Jolly Rancher. My mom would get them for me at Sam's, wholesale. And so I did that around Halloween time. I would
That's a great business model, by the way. Have
awesome.
somebody else buy your product and then you sell and keep all the profits.
That was it. That was the first margins were great. Margins were great for that.
Were amazing.
She got me started with that. But then what I did then around, Halloween time is I would get all the candy, and I go door to door, right? For, that night of Halloween. And then the next day when everybody was like eating their candy at school, I took my pillowcase and I put it in the closet, and I let it sit there for a month. And then I would bring it out a month later. Everybody else had already created a great habit of eating candy for a month. And that was all profit that I could sell at the middle school. Then I had 3 people, Tony Gatling, a couple other guys selling for me. So I would distribute that to them at the beginning of school. They would come back to me with money.
People working for you.
So
had a whole
so like
middle school.
In middle school, so I had a candy business.
I think I was playing Atari football. That was like the biggest thing for me. Like, can we play Pac-Man again? Like, no,
right.
no,
yeah,
no
why not?
entrepreneurial mind whatsoever on this side of the mic.
I loved it though. I loved it. I love business, and I realized, and I didn't know what I was learning at that point, but like you mentioned it, if you want to have a really good business, you got to have good margins.
Yeah.
And so I kept my expenses low various ways, and kept my prices what they were. I got a distribution channel with friends, and we were able to start a business. And then I got into, when I went to college, studied business, and then when I came out, I got into the pharmaceutical industry, which was an amazing place to
learn. How did that happen? How did you go from, because you were, first of all, an exceptional college basketball player.
I was okay.
DJ Wet was his nickname.
Yeah, right.
But played college basketball and then got out, and then you were like, was that like immediate? Like, here I go, like out, graduating and right into the workforce?
Yeah.
How'd that work?
So I was a really, really good high school basketball player. I was a very humbled college basketball player, and went into played at Capital University for 2 years and studied business, and started realizing the finances around when you go and play Division III basketball, the difference between a grant and a loan. I had a lot of loans, not very many grants. Realized I owed several thousands of dollars after my first 2 years to play college basketball, and said, you know what, I think it might be a good decision to transfer to a school that's a little less expensive, better opportunity for business. And so I made the jump from Capital University to Bowling Green State University. And that's where I started to really learn about business. And I did internships. I did one with Disney. And ultimately, I ended up getting an internship with Shearing Plow, selling Claritin and Nasonex.
I would have loved you back then, because Claritin is my friend.
Yeah, allergies, right? Like I had allergies, so I could really speak to that. And so I did that in the summertime for 3 summers, and they gave, by the end of the internship, they'd given me a car, laptop, they bought an apartment for me, and I was going around to doctors' offices talking to them about allergies and chronic idiopathic urticaria, which is just a way, just itching, right? It's an allergy itch. And so, but I learned how to, not only the science behind things, but also just the business fundamentals. And so that was a great entry, not only just into the pharmaceutical industry, but into business in general, because pharma companies, they do an unbelievable job at training their people. I mean, they put their resources and invest in their people. And so to be able to have that very early on in my career was super valuable.
Yeah. And so here you are, and you're training, and then you stay in pharma for the next 18 years with a ton of success. And again, this is success leaves clues. So what do you think that you were doing, and maybe what your mindset was to help you achieve the things that you achieved? Again, President Club type of stuff, and being a national leader, those types of things. What were some of those pieces that you look back on and you go, oh yeah, like even before you knew what it was?
Right. Well, I think it was some of the things that I learned growing up, some of the jobs I didn't talk about, like when I was delivering pizzas on my bike, and I worked in a factory coating gaskets for cars. Getting to the factory at 6 a.m., leaving at 3, smelling like, grease and all the other stuff. Helping build a golf course, digging the holes to build the golf course. That work ethic made me realize, how to work hard and like what real hard work looks like. But
Yep.
B, also saying, if I don't want to be in a factory line, which again, it's good, it's good work, it's good money, but it wasn't for me. Uh, then I need to learn how to exercise my mind and carry that work ethic into whatever I do next. And so that was the foundation. And my parents, they made me do a lot of different jobs that got me uncomfortable. I mean, I sold knives, Cutco knives, for a summer in college. I mean, I did a little bit of everything. So by the time I got into pharmaceuticals, I was like, this job is awesome. I'm not going to mess it up. And so
Yeah.
from day one, when I was in the training, you mentioned, being in bed at 10. I'm 22 years old. There's open bars. There's all the free foods you want at these training facilities. I knew that if I wanted to be great, that it was an illusion of choice. I couldn't stay up all night and party with the other ones. I wasn't good enough to do that.
Right.
So we talk about hot water with lemon at night. That was for me even back then, because I knew I had to separate myself from the pack. And then I just, I even at a young age, I tried to lead by example. And it's funny because I run into a lot of those people now in the business world, and there's things that they point back to, things that I learned from them, things that they saw me doing. But I think that those decades help create and build a level of trust that we still tap into to this day. So I think from the work ethic standpoint, having a willingness to learn, always trying to do excellent work, and really just trying to separate myself by my actions is what set me apart.
Also, too, like appreciating the opportunity, it sounds like as
Man,
well. Kind of comes out like, hey, I have this opportunity. Don't screw it up.
very much so. Very much so. And seeing like you know, yeah, just some of the things, even that the challenges my parents had, career wise, and some of the struggles that my dad went through. Ended up had a stroke at 42 years old from the stress of his job, and different opportunities that he was able to have and then not able to have. That all created it's kind of like you see that and you're like, ooh, don't want to touch that stove. All right, I'll go over here towards this, and I had a really dynamic and diverse background to be able to tap into with that. Again, not that it was perfect, like in terms of like the way even I launched my career, but I had this great opportunity and fertile ground of with a excellent manager, Mark Soretta, my first district manager. He was unbelievable. Like, just took me in. He
Mm.
actually saw me when I was an intern. He saw me working in office and talking to all the people in the office, and he hired me in the parking lot. So he was working with another company, doing a field visit with his rep, and I was working as an intern. And he went out, and it was on the car. I remember this. He took the map out, the Rand McNally map, right? And he said, I love what you did in there, and I want you to have this territory. He's like, would you come work for me?
Oh,
And
it's
and
unbelievable.
and 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 that he believed in me from that time, and then just molded me, made me do all the Dale Carnegie courses and Toastmaster, and all the classes to get better at public speaking, and just getting out of your comfort zone. And so a great manager, a leader, is also something that's really important at early stages of your career.
Yeah. Do you think that belief in you, like, do you think that, what kind of an impact do you think that had on you?
Huge, huge. I mean, when a coach or a leader believes in you, it allows you just to be able to tap into your own skill set without fear of like looking over your shoulder.
Yeah.
And so when there's doubt there with a leader, it makes you second guess everything that you're doing, and you really can't show up the best version of yourself. So Mark was incredible with that. His belief in me allowed me to be able to really achieve great things early in my career.
Yeah, it's awesome. I remember learning about the self-fulfilling prophecy. I remember in grad school taking a leadership course, and there was the self-fulfilling prophecy, and it was about not only about how you thought about yourself, but if I'm a coach and I'm watching a player and I have a judgment about that player early on,
Yeah.
that often will come true, whether it's true or not.
Yeah.
Right. Because all I'm
Yeah.
doing is looking for myself to be right. So here's somebody who comes in and they believe in you. And guess what? You feel as an athlete or as an employee or, whatever. And now all of a sudden you're feeling like, hey, he believes in me. I should believe in me.
Right. Right.
It was funny. Like even I was just thinking about it the other day. Like I worked for the Cubs for 5 years and probably had zero business being the director of the mental skills program, like literally. But I remember thinking to myself in the tougher times, like, well, Theo Epstein chose me. And this is one of the best leaders in the world. This is one of the, biggest winners in the world and probably one of the smartest people I know. So if he believes in me, maybe I should believe in myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was kind of like, it's kind of like that.
It is. And I also came from, a family where we believed that we could do big things, great things, and it was, my dad was, I look back, I lost my father in 2018, but he was a dreamer too. Like he would always think like, no, you can do that. Like there was a sense of pride, there. Like, don't tell somebody don't let anybody tell you that you can't do it. Right.
Yeah.
Figure it out. And then I had this, really loving mother who would always be like, remind me of like, here are your positive attributes. Here's what you're really good at. So she would reinforce that in me. My dad was a lot tougher. Like he would be the one that would find the things that were wrong, like, and like being very direct, like, you need to fix that. Cause like, nobody's going to feel sorry for you. Right. You need to go ahead and, tighten that up. And so it was a really, really good. And at the time I resented my father growing up because I was like, dude, he's so hard on me. He's really, really hard on me. Now I appreciate it because he got me ready for a tough world. This world's it's not easy, right? I mean, we got it pretty darn good, but there's challenges that you have that I was, I think, better equipped for with a tough father.
Yeah, and that's a great segue in terms of challenges, right? So
Mm-hmm.
here you are in your under the umbrella of pharma,
Yeah.
and you make this choice with Harry B. Wilson, IB number 4, and Timo Ad,
Yep.
and you make this choice to start this thing called Limitless Minds. So what prompted that?
Yeah.
Leaving, pharma, you make good money. So I know you're feeling pretty comfortable and doing pretty well and things like that. So here you are, you got 5 kids, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to at that point, probably 4 kids, right? Cause
we had just had Amari. He's brand new.
So, okay. 5 kids, and I'm going to start this business. So what was the thought process behind that? And then, kind of what did you learn from that move from being an employee to being a founder?
Yes. Great question. I mean, when Harry and I were at Horizon, we were building these teams. We realized really quickly that the skill set training that our companies gave us, which was excellent, product, disease state knowledge, competition, your territory, it was phenomenal training. A lot of the training around mindset, and when a challenge came about, there was an obstacle, a change, pressure was high, we were often finding our own recipe for that. Here's a book to read. Here's a podcast to listen to. Here's a quote. There were constant ways that we were trying to motivate and tie our people in. And as we would have conversations around that, we determined, hey, you know what? Like Harry brought up, he's like, my brother has a mindset coach that does a lot of what we're teaching in pharma around, this area. And so we should go out and meet with Trevor and Russell, see what they're talking about, and see if it's applicable to what we're doing in business. And so that's what we did. We went out there, met them, and really saw that. I mean, actually, at one point, I took Isaiah with me. He was 5 at the time, and flew out to Arizona, took all of Trevor Moad's content, all of Bob Moad's content, and put it on a conference room table 8-foot conference room table at Trevor's office. John Schultz watched.
Man, I got the legend.
That's right. He watched
And
Isaiah. He watched
that's
Isaiah for
awesome.
me for the day, and I read through all the stuff because I wanted to understand the content and see if it would match up with where we were trying to go directionally. And I left there after 2 days realizing this is a match. Like this makes sense, and people will really respond well in the business world. The corporate athlete will respond well if we put something like this together. So that formulated the idea, like in terms of like some of those, meeting Trevor, meeting Russell, conversations with Harry, going out to meet Trev and do what I just said. But taking the leap, like you asked, that was more centered around conversations with I was in a mentor group at my church at the time with my pastor and like 3 other people, and we literally prayed about this for, it was 3 months. We prayed about this, and I remember my Pastor Jonathan Schaefer, he said something to me. He goes, "Hey DJ, have you ever heard God speak to you?" And I'm like, okay, this is my pastor asking me this question. Like, how do I answer? But I answered him honest. I said, no. He goes, I challenge you on that. He goes, because you may have not heard God speak to you audibly. He goes, but a lot of the conversations we've had where you said, you had this urge to pray for somebody or call somebody, and then, or, they text you, or, all these things that you've just chalked up to coincidence. He goes, that's the Holy Spirit speaking to you. He's speaking to you through nudges. And as soon as you start to follow those nudges, these great doors are going to open up for you. And so I took his advice. That was in the spring of 2018. And I really started to have more serious conversations with, my wife, Jessica, at the time. And at the time, she's still my wife, 21 years. But at the time we had those conversations. Those conversations.
Yes,
and we I remember going to her, and she, we got 5 kids, right? And brand new, Amari's brand new, and saying to her, hey, what do you think I should do? And she said, well, I think you need to follow your gut. I think I said, God has always provided for us, and I believe in you. And between those 2 people, like my pastor and my wife saying those things, I knew what I needed to do. And so in October 2018, we went from an LLC, right, in 2017, which was an idea on, and a registered idea basically, to 2018 launching and leaving our company. That company we left, Horizon Therapeutics, they said, you can leave, but we just want to become your first client. So they became our first client. They ended up, fast forward 4 years later, sold to Amgen for $28 billion. We still got great relationships with those folks, obviously help them, in the ways we help them through training and developing. And the rest is history, man. But that's, it was very scary. It was through a lot of prayer, people that I trusted. And I'm glad we did it, for sure.
Yeah. So what are some of the things that you've learned and some of the differences, from being a founder to, being under the umbrella?
Yeah. So as a founder, one of the things, and like being responsible for the business, when I give direction to folks that I work with, I have to be really careful of like making sure that they understand that the difference between just an idea or I need this done today, right? Because I didn't realize, like, when I say something, that people put it on they put it in the very urgent, column. And it's because they know how much this business means, to me, how much it means to us, and as a team. And so I have to be really careful about, like, being clear when giving direction. That was something I learned really early on, and I still have to, like, be intentional about exercising that to this day. Otherwise it becomes people just kind of chasing things because DJ mentioned this, and that's that can be really distracting for your team. And so that's one thing I've learned. The other thing I've learned is that, like, as you're growing your business and you're hiring people, We mentioned it earlier. As a coach, people have strengths, people have weaknesses. Put people into their zone of strength and that area of strength where they can thrive, and then trust that they're going to get the job done. If there's things that they're not good at, do not rely on them to do it. Figure out a way to get it done, with other resources, because it's just going to cause too much angst. I think that holds true too. When I was in pharmaceuticals, I'd say the only difference is that, like, when this is your baby, right? Our baby's 8 years old now. It's more personal to you, and so you take things more personal, and that's not
Mhm.
their issue. That's my issue, and that's
Right.
something that I have to constantly make sure that I'm aware of and intentional of. So those would be two things that I would say that really stand out to me when starting a business as a co-founder, that are a little bit different.
Yeah, it's separating, right? It's getting that pause, getting that space in between, and allowing yourself to go, okay, look, I'm catching myself getting charged up here. I'm catching
Yeah,
myself being, personally offended, etc. But why? Like, oh, okay, because this means so much to me.
yeah,
So let me step back from that and go, okay, well, what do we need to do to get better? Right? It's just
that's
getting
right.
back to neutral over and
That's
over and
right.
over again.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it is, and it's and our people care too. They want it. They
Yep.
want it just as much. Uh and so, when you go in through that lens and you don't take everything so personal, it's it's easier to navigate. It's not perfect. It's not easy. It's just easier
Yeah.
to navigate through.
Yeah. So speaking of that, and maybe this goes along with it, but like just kind of curious in terms of since you've started this 8 years ago, like some of your biggest successes, but then also maybe some of your things that you slipped up on, and I don't know if you want to call them a failure, but we can call them a failure.
Yeah.
And kind of what did you learn from those? So successes, and then what were the failures?
Biggest success is the fact that we've been able to partner with some of the best companies in the world. I mean, you talk about Johnson and Johnson, Novartis. I mean, we've worked with Amazon, Microsoft. I mean, these are some of the best companies in the world. It's like one of those, like, kind of pinch yourself moments where you're like, man, we built an amazing brand, and we've done that collectively with an unbelievable team. And so those are that's kind of the result of, and there's a lot of things that happen underneath that to make those things happen. I think the one thing that I can say, if you go one layer deeper and you say, why would a company like Johnson and Johnson trust you? One of the most trusted brands in the world trust Limitless Minds. And I think it's because they trust the people that
Yeah.
make up Limitless Minds. And so whether it's the person that first talks to them, whether it's you when you go on stage, whether it's Kat and the team as they talk through, and Anna as they talk through all the logistics around the program, to the pull through, and the people that are all associated with that, it's like their experience is like, we trust them. And so I think that's one thing that I think we've done really, really well. And I would say, um, on the failure side, or the part that hasn't gone as well, is that we have a company that has an amazing vision. You mentioned the mission to impact 1 billion people. There's a lot of ideas around how to do that. I think the phrase that comes to mind, and I literally write it down in my notebook, and so I can look at it on a day-to-day basis, is operational excellence.
Mm.
How do we operationalize all these unbelievable ideas? And where we have not done that, we've struggled. We haven't been, great in the area of utilizing resources for certain initiatives that we've had. And we course correct, have a bias for action, and figure it out. Like, that's another advantage that we have. We don't give up. We can pivot quickly. But all of the failures that we've had as a business have usually come from just not the process. The process wasn't tight enough. The process needed improvement. So that has been on my mind heavy lately. And so as we implement, like, every week, I implement and want, and have a goal of implementing a new process that is going to stick, that helps our business, that makes it easier for everybody, for us to impact more people.
Yeah.
I wasn't doing that a year ago, and it showed.
Hmm.
It showed. And so, um, but then it's like, how do you respond? Right? Do you respond by continuing to play that video and that tape over and over again? DJ, you're a failure. Why didn't you do that? You could have been this. Or do I do like I said this morning? All right, what happened, happened. I still got to show up. I'm going to see
Gotta
Josh.
own it.
I got to own it.
Gotta
I'm
own
going to
it.
see Josh. I got to come with a certain energy that, and be able to execute, And so that's that's where I'd say me personally, that's where I've failed.
It's interesting you brought up like systems, right? Because I think about, like what the quote about like willpower, right? Like
Mhm.
willpower is really fleeting. But systems and habits, they're really strong. They're gonna outdo willpower every single
Every
day.
time, man.
It goes back to the writing thing or the creative thing I was talking about today, where it's just like, I know what my system is to get right and
Yeah.
mentally prepared to be creative, right? I know, but I actually have to implement the system and do it. So for you, like, what's one kind of habit system for yourself? And
Yeah.
I'll couch this with this caveat: DJ is one of the hardest working and one of the best people at connecting I've ever seen. So,
Thank you.
and I'm serious. Like, you don't have any issues at all. I think there's a lot of people out there who, okay, I got to reach out and I got to maybe cold call somebody or reach out and talk to somebody I haven't talked to in a while or whatever. Like, that never is an issue for you. That may have come from, being 6 years old and going to make 20 bucks on the street. But for you, like, you're just able to do that. And I'm always kind of like blown away by that.
Well,
And
I
so
appreciate that.
so what is like the habits or the systems that you have for yourself that allow you to perform at kind of your highest levels?
Yeah, well, I get a lot of energy from this, like connecting. So like you said, like so for some people it's tough for them because it's an energy drainer. I get a lot of, and it might be from the fact even as a child, I went to a lot of schools. I lost track.
Mm.
It's over 10 schools that I went to. I went to 3 different high schools. So I had to be the new person and meet new people and connect with them. And so I got really good at that as a kid, an adult, and you say you want to lean into your strengths, your superpowers. I do get a lot of energy from connecting. What I do on a day to day basis, I call it 21s. So I write in my notebook RO, so they're called reach outs,
Okay.
and I want to get 21 of those, and I typically do it in the morning, and I do it. I tally it. It's a tally mark on the notebook. And those reach outs, like, it could be, this is not, it could be a text message because I was just thinking of my best friend and I want to tell him, hey, man, I was thinking about you. Your mom is sick. And I just want to tell you I was praying for you. That's a reach out. It could be a business. I could go into my LinkedIn and there's messages and I just respond back to people and I reach out. And I 21 of them, people ask why 21. I was telling, actually, I say people asked, Gorsuch asked, because I was sharing this with him. And I told him, I said, because, there's research out there that says you do something 21 times or it's for 21 days or whatever it is, that it becomes a habit. So
Yep.
that's why I chose 21. It just gives me a number to shoot for. Um, it gives me a lot of energy when I'm doing that as I'm going through. And I think what it also does is when you do that consistently over time, it helps really strengthen this network of people that you have. And
Yeah.
so I think if it's something that doesn't give you energy, and that's just not your personality, I would still encourage you to be intentional about connecting with people. We have this world. I was just reading an article last night. It was the founder of LinkedIn, and he was saying, like, how is AI going to impact the world? And everybody's talking
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
real key takeaway that he had, that was the human centric approach and your ability to connect with people is going to be what's valuable that AI can't do.
Yep.
So if you're not good at it, like, Trevor would always say, stuff like, if you're not good at it, oh well, you better figure out how to be good, and at least, or get better at it, because if not, you're going to become a dinosaur. And so that, for me, I want to be really purposeful about leaning into reaching out to people. And I tell you what, man, you do that exercise, you do that 21 times, you show up a lot better throughout the day than with the days where I don't do it.
Yeah. Do you have time to kind of mentally recover from, I don't know, maybe you don't even need it. Maybe it sounds like you just like love doing it. So it's like, but I'm just like picturing myself like 21. I'm like, man, that seems like a ton of people to reach out to and connect with and stuff like that, and then kind of keep track of it. So I just like, I don't know. Do
Yeah.
you take time to reset and
The,
kind
the
of get
the
yourself
hardest
back
part for
together?
me is the hardest part for me is not the after, it's the, like you said, the first step of it. Like when you had to write, you had to do, it's just doing it for the first one. But and
Yeah.
and and I'll even take some pressure off you. You can count a like on a social media post, okay, as a reach out, because guess what? That person saw that.
Yeah.
Whether you believe it or not, we're all on social media. If you comment, even if you commented with a heart or a, whatever, a pound symbol, whatever it is, like, that's a reach out. You made a person feel a certain way. And
Yeah.
and that's all I'm trying to, so the after effect is usually like, dang, I'm up to 25. All right, now I'm up to 30. I need to stop this because I have to go do other things, right?
Right.
So
Right. Right.
so but
Right.
I
Right.
think I think it's that, I think the hardest part is that first one.
Yeah. So how do you get to that first one? Is it just kind of like I got to get 21? Doesn't matter because you've written it down as a goal, or like it's just like, do you put it in your calendar? Do you like kind of schedule it?
Yeah, I put BD reach outs in my calendar,
Good.
but that's
Yeah.
not like, this is not centered around, but that's a reminder of that I need to reach out, right? This it'll or say it'll
Yeah. Yeah.
says it
I
says
got it.
BD work or whatever.
Yeah.
That's just a
I do.
placeholder for all the work that I'm going to do to reach out to people, whether it's business or personal. I'm spending an hour in the morning doing that, and that's in my calendar now
Yeah, it's great.
every
The
day,
calendar is such a huge, like it's kind of like a cheat code in a lot of ways
for
when
sure.
you do put stuff in there. It really kind of just kind of keeps you on track in terms of those different
That's right. That's
habits
right.
and things of that nature. So that's
Yeah,
good, man.
no
I love
question.
that. Love that. Cool. What? Okay, we're gonna wrap up a little bit here
Yep. Yep.
because we kind of covered a lot, but for me, I just want to kind of roll back to the Success Leaves Clues, right? It was
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Limitless Mind Success Leaves Clues
That's it.
podcast. So what are the things that I kind of hear that have helped you be successful and to start a business with 5 kids, depending on you, and to be successful with that? Well, number one is your work ethic. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Right? You have shown that throughout, whether it be taking all these different jobs as a kid and diving into it, whether it be, being honest with yourself and understanding, hey, I got to get to 10 o'clock because I want to be successful, and owning the opportunity. But that work ethic is paramount to success. Number two is self-awareness, right? So we saw it in a bunch of the interviews that Travis and I had. There's this self-awareness that is really apparent to, I would even call it an emotional intelligence, to all the participants that we've had on, where it's like they know themselves really well, and
Mm.
they know what works for them and they know what does not work for them, right? And they've learned that throughout the years, but they've been open to learning that and growing from it, right?
Yeah.
And
No
then
question.
number three is you hired me. I mean, that's the obvious one,
Yeah, I mean,
right?
listen, man,
So,
that's one of my gold
come on,
star. You saw
come
I
on.
put that on my bio too, by the way.
It's
You're
in
on
there.
your
It says hired Lifrak, brought him into the fold.
Nah, well,
Uh,
and
so
and
those things just jumped out at me.
I appreciate that. I would just add, and this was kind of a thread that has been throughout my career, is that being around great people like yourself, and
I'm not
just,
shaking my head at the fact that you said Mike myself. I'm
and
agreeing
and
about the great
and
people
and
part.
my co-founders, my family, the folks that, my parents, that to me, I think has been something that, we all have really good people that we can tap into at some point in our life. And do we gravitate towards them and let them become part of our circle, or try to get into their circle, or do we go and gravitate towards something that may not serve us as well? And I think that put yourself around really great people and great things happen. And that's, and I think that's a clue, man, that I see consistently. I watch it. I see it with Russell. I see it with, the business leaders that we work with. They surround themselves with really awesome people.
Yeah, it is super humbling to be around some of them too. And you just kind of see like, wow, this is a person that's phenomenal. For me, like just even being around Travis a lot, it's just like, it's amazing to me.
Right.
And this guy is so special, and it's so fun to do the pod with him over the last couple of weeks. We're going to do some more, but
that's right.
It's just like, yeah, man, I hear you, DJ. It's a game changer.
It's a
right,
game,
because you start picking up their habits.
You do, and then you you meet Sierra, right, and you're like, dang,
yeah,
wow,
yeah,
that iron sharpens iron, man. And so
no doubt.
it's like, I think that C and Russ and and the folks that are around them, the folks that have been around Limitless Minds, the people that we have internally, the corporate clients that we have, this is an amazing group of people and companies that we've been really blessed to be around. So
yeah, what's funny though too, and this is, I'll just say this, is like, I came in here at full-time 2021, and as I started to become a part of it, one of the things that really jumped out at me is how many people were on the team that lead with their heart first.
Yeah.
And they just genuinely care about others. And I think that is a credit to you, DJ, because the apple does not fall far from the tree. So thank you for your leadership, my man. Thank you for all you've done. Thanks for starting this dang company. Thanks for continuing to be on this road with us.
I really appreciate the time here. I'm glad that we got a chance to connect. I know Harry's going to be with Travis, and again, Harry, I mean, like, we wouldn't be here. Like, I started this thing off, wouldn't be here without Harry, like that was, just being able to, have a brother and friend like him to be able to start this thing with. It's like, you just been really fortunate to be around some incredible people. So thanks for taking the time today, man, and doing this. Hopefully we left some clues today, bro.
Yeah, that's always the plan. And by the way, even though you said those great things about Harry, you're still gonna win.
All good. That's great.
And with that, we're gonna get the heck out of here. So always remember and never forget, you don't have to be sick to get better.
That's it. Deuces.